everyone. Today we got to play Oros. So this is a game where you start colliding islands to see about creating different land masses so you can appease the gods. Alright, but before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about Oros?
I can. So first of all, this was a present from Robert to me for birthday like 2 years ago.
Kickstarter, right?
It was a Kickstarter. It finally came out. This was supposed to be a 2022 release. I didn't get mine until 2023. No, maybe it was late 2022. Maybe it was 2022. Board Game Geek rating was 7.8, and rank is currently 6029. It's a 1 to 4 player game. Average length of 60 to 120 minutes, and age is recommended our typical 14 and up. I don't think this one is that complex, but there is a lot of iconography. Designed by Brant Brinkerhoff, and the art is also by Brant Brinkerhoff. He did a pretty nice job on this. Published by AESC Games, and the Kickstarter price was originally $75 for the collector's version, the deluxe version. The standard version had an MSRP and Kickstarter price of $50. Now, you can still get this from the Game Steward because they buy games and then mark them up and sell them. So you get the collector's edition still for $94.99. Miniature Market has a pre-order for the standard version, the $50 one, for $39.99. It hasn't come out yet, but they've got it as a pre-order right now. And that's the only place I found it cheap, marked down. So.
Now, is that the only publishing group? Because I saw on Board Game Geek, Lucky Duck Games also did this.
I don't... There was 3 publishers listed, but this is the primary. It's the one on the box. I didn't list... They may have taken it up for a U.S. release. I don't know if the standard in the retail might be Lucky Duck. I don't know.
All right, so let's talk about quality of components. Now, these are cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool bits about this, but there's some really problematic ones. But,
well, let's first what they attempted to do. Okay, so first thing is the storage for the tiles.
It's top notch.
Top notch. Great job. I love the storage for the player components. That worked out really, really well.
My only grievance was they didn't put lids for the tile pieces, but as long as you don't tip it, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. You have these really cool figurines. Everything's screen printed. So that they did an excellent job there. The tiles,
they got a really cool coating on them.
So there's not linen finish, but it's like they've got some shiny, some matte with whatever coating that they did on that. So it looks really interesting and cool. So
more thematics, but I mean, they've done a nice job on the components as far as the wood bits, the cardboard bits. Where they lacked was what they attempted to do with the inlaid boards. Yeah,
so let's talk about the inlaid boards. So you had to assemble them yourself.
Some assembly required, and by some I mean a lot.
So basically you had to punch all of this out. And this is two-sided. So one is for
Atoma.
Atoma.
And they have 4 different Atomas because they've got 4 colors that you can make the Atoma.
Right. So, and that's individual play, right?
Yeah, well, it's individual, or if you're playing with 2 or fewer players.
Okay.
So you have to use an Atoma if you're playing with 2 player, but you get your choice of 4 different styles, which I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah. Now, okay, so the problem is, so it's front and back utility, so that was a good idea. But however, they only put
connectors at the
top, so you end up with this.
They're curling really badly. I mean,
really badly here at the
bottom. To
bottom.
The point where it's almost unplayable. Because the pieces slide underneath the cardboard and...
Yeah, so a lot of people mentioned online about gluing the boards
clamping it, gluing it, you name it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting things that they came up with. I mean, I would probably end up gluing it, except I'm not a very good gluer.
Yeah, we're going to have to come up with some solution because these are really problematic. I mean, we tried playing it once and they were curling as we play. Because you put your hand on it, and I don't know if the moisture from your hand or whatever, but they were curling as we played, getting worse and worse.
Yeah, so they tried. And, I mean, it was probably a cost-saving measure to do it this way. And, in a lot of these, with these intricate inlaid, a lot of them end up curling anyway, so I guess each person can accept their curling as much.
Yeah, but even if you have to assemble it, put something on all four corners. I mean, to have them with just the top, it was really poor design.
Well, you could have at least added one here to do a third.
Well, yeah,
but then this one would have been horrible.
You needed to put another like half inch at the bottom.
Yeah, but this didn't need to be as big as it. They could have.
Yeah, they definitely they could have done something else. This is the boards are problematic for playing.
Yeah,
and we're going to have to figure out a solution.
But they tried. They tried. My guess is we're going to end up gluing them, and we'll try to do that process. We'll see how much that is.
I will say, even gluing them is going to be problematic because in the middle there's like a slide in the player board that's not the inlay.
Right.
So you would have to glue to the inlay on both sides, to keep it. So.
Yeah.
But then I'm just saying it's not going to be a straightforward glue.
Well, I mean, I think it's going to take some precision, probably more than I have, but we'll give it a go. So let's give it a score. Now they did some wonderful things. The interesting texture,
thematics.
The interesting texture. Well, it's about quality components, right? Because that screen, the gloss matte kind of overlay, I think that kind of goes with quality. But you do have beautiful wooden pieces with the screen printing. And it's not just a little screen printing. These are quite a bit. I mean, this is actual artwork on them. And I love the storage components, but this is kind of a hindrance.
And it's the main portion of the game. I mean, I probably would have given this, if not a 10, close to it, if that were not in the play. Given that I'm taking it down to an 8. That is such a hindrance to the game. It's bringing it down about 2 points.
Oh, wow.
Because, I mean, that is central. That's what it's all about, raising your scores on your player board.
Yeah. So for me, I'm actually probably going to hit at an 8 too. I think it could have reached 9 for me if the player boards had been, good. Even better if they were top notch. But, we're going to have to work through that.
Yeah. One thing we didn't mention is the center board actually is two-sided for the starter game and then the advanced game. It's got a larger board.
Yeah. All right, so now let's talk about the actual theme. So the theme is that you are a Titan of sorts.
I think you're a demigod.
Yeah, so demigod of I was the demigod of fertile land. We've got the demigod of the raging fire. But the thing is you have the power to move the islands and move things around and to collide them to basically form, more permanent land masses, if you will, by the mountains. And in so doing, you have the ability to actually build shrines to yourself because you're awesome. You got followers, you got priests that you're setting out to actually do it. But, at the end of the day, you want to be the coolest demigod out there. Theme-wise, it's not a typical art style that you see, but I liked it.
Yeah, I do like it.
It did have a good feel to it, considering the nature of it. And I loved what they kind of did with, the shuffling of, I don't know, it's just fun. I think the theme is integral in the gameplay because you're literally colliding these tiles to create these land masses. You have volcanoes that, create land masses as well that you've got going on. So thematically, I think they did a great job. And, the art was fun and a little bit different than what we customly see. So I can appreciate that as well. Theme-wise, I'm going to give it an 8.5. I really liked it. I thought it was a good theme.
I'm going 9. I think it's amazing. The colors are very vibrant. Yeah. The where they did add the little touch of the highlights on the box, on the tiles. I mean, it wasn't necessary, but it makes it pop. Everything looks beautiful. The color choices are amazing.
Well, my problem is I don't have a purple.
Well, they have purple board, but is yellow as the player.
Well, if it was a purple person, then,
So you took a half point for no purple.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I was happy with the blues. Those were some beautiful blues they had.
Yeah, no, they did a great job there.
So, yeah, I think everything looks incredible. And it doesn't stand up high like some of the other games we've seen with 3D presence, but it has a 3D presence on it, which actually attracts attention too. And the fact that everything was screen printed, if you can get the collector's version, if you find a solution for the player boards, get the collector version because it looks amazing.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the actual rule book.
So the rule book is pretty lengthy. It's actually 32 pages long, which is more than this gameplay really should require. I mean, honestly, this game is. I've seen ones in much less pages with much more complex rules and done effectively, but this they did do it. It's got a front and cover, nice, beautiful front cover matching the board or box. It's the reference sheet to the symbology on the back. No cheat sheets, unfortunately. The iconography is a little convoluted. You don't really, once you get it, it's not a big deal because there's not that many references. But it is, not straightforward looking at the boards, the player boards, to get what the iconography means. And even in the books, they kind of breeze through some of the iconography, which is kind of strange because that's the main meat of the game. They do have a lot of examples showing how things work with the collisions, because that's really the most complex, is how the tiles move on the board. And they do a nice job explaining that. And then, but the actual gameplay goes to page 21. And then after that, it goes into how to do the automa. And then the advanced game variant. So there's a lot of ways to play this game. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get more bang for your buck playing this, because it's not going to be the same game once you add in those variants. So there's a lot of flexibility, and they put some nice little touches into this too, where they have like achievements you can complete. And what I thought was really cool is they hid items on the tiles, and it's almost like a Where's Waldo. They actually got a sheet in here. When you find something, you can mark it that you found it. I noticed Stonehenge on there, and there's a whole ton of different items just kind of mixed in. They got, I thought that was really clever. So I think all in all, I think they did a nice job with the rule book. I think it's a little wordy, but it does get the points across. There was really no confusion once you got it, other than how the tiles moved. Even that, once we got it, was still a little confusing. If it says a landmass, which ones represent a landmass, and so on. We had to reference a little bit and trying to get the examples to work it out. But apart from that, there's nothing wrong as far as the rules go. It's got them all in there that we found. I'm going to go ahead and give it probably an 8.5, because even though it's lengthy, it's done with really nice looking. It's got the font is right size. There's no difficulty reading it, and it expressed what we needed to do. We didn't really have any confusion, so I'm going to give it 8.5.
Okay. All right. So now let's actually talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay is you have workers. At the beginning of the game, you're actually going to only have one worker out. It's going to be at one of the volcano locations. At the beginning,
you don't have any. You assign the first one to the board.
Right. Your first action. All right. Then the other ones are going to take stuff over here. I don't know. You're going to figure that out. All right. So then you're going to take 3 actions over the course of your turn. So to do so, you're going to have to move your guys around, but kind of keep in mind that where are you picking it up and where you're going. So if you're picking it up, right, you're revealing that space, so you have that opportunity to do that action. But where you're going, you're covering it up, right? So just making sure that you understand, what you're hiding. So it's very beneficial for you to get your stuff out on the board, because it gives you a little more freedom in the fact that there's a lot more spots open and available to you. But that part gets started game. You can only have 1 on the board, 2 in the study area. So that is kind of a little bit restrictive. Now, over the course, like I said, you have 3 action, but there's only 6 options for you. Okay, so the first one is to shift all. So if I were to put my guy here, shift all tiles in a row, I'm going to pick this row right here because there are no mountains. Now, later on in the game, you'll be able to move mountains because you'll become very, very powerful. But right now, you don't have that option. So I'm only going to allow to move 1 row because that's where I'm at, or 1 space. So I'm going to shift everything 1 space. Now, if something were to fall off, it would come back over here at the other side because it is a globe, right? So it's a big, huge circle. All right, now the second thing I could do is move a tile, set 1 space. So in this case, I have to move a set of 3 tiles. So here's 3 tiles here. I'm going to shift them up 1. Yay! Okay, so that's an action. Now, why is this relevant? Now, the thing is you can actually end up colliding, and we'll talk about that here. We're going to move one of these here. Move that two down.
That one here.
Okay, so I'm only going to move these 3 here, right? And they're going to be shoved up, but this ain't going to move because I don't have that ability. But this 2 and 2 will end up colliding. So those will go on top of each other. But 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, so then we will put out a 4 tile. Okay, now, why does that matter? Well, we'll come to that here in a... So, the thing is, if we can collide, so 4 is the highest tile. If you can collide a 4 and a 4, you will then create a mountain. Okay, anything less than that, not so much. So that 4 on 4 becomes a mountain, and that is where you can build your shrine. So that matters later on with different actions. Now, if I were to collide a 2 and a 4, I would have the 4 tile, and then I would have a 2 volcano. We'll talk about volcanoes right here in a minute. Now, the next action that we're going to do is actually erupting or forming a volcano. So I can put a level 3 volcano down as my action here, or I can end up erupting 1 volcano. Now, at this point, I can only erupt 1, but as you move up the action track, or the track, you can end up doing more than 1 at any given time. So, I'm going to come over here. I already have a 4 level here, and I'm trying to get another 4 because I need a mountain to be able to place my temple tiles, okay? So, I'm going to explode this volcano. I'm going to add 2. I have to pick a direction, okay? So, I'm going to end up picking here because this 2 will then become a 4, right? So, 2 plus 2 is 4. So, then I'm going to put another 4 level tile. So, the next time I have the ability to move and collide, I can eventually make a mountain tile. All right. Well, hopefully I'll be there, but when it does, so I'll be right there. Okay, so another thing is to send or return from study. Okay, so I'm going to move my guy here because I've taken him off one of the other actions now that I don't have any loose ones. Now, I have to either send or bring back, okay? I want to leave my guys on the board, so I'm going to take this guy, and I'm actually going to put him right here. Now, I don't get anything for doing that right this second, but at that same time, if I take that action, I could actually bring back 2, later on the track 3, but 2. So I could say, I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to take this guy. I'll get to go up the wisdom track twice, okay? So that is the benefit of doing that. Now, then the next thing is...
Before that, this is the wisdom track.
The wisdom tracks are any of these tracks here. You go up on the track and you get more powers. You're more... a stronger demigod for doing that, and you get more victory points in some cases when you're talking about these 3 tracks here, or additional strengthen of an abilities, and then eventually victory points if you get into the last sections of it. All right, now the next one is going to be Journey. So that is where I'm going to take my priests that are already on the board, and I'm going to move them. All right, so I've got 2 4s here, and I'm going to want to collide them here in a minute, and when I do so, I want to have the ability to build a temple. So I'm going to put my guy there. So that's my journey. I'm going to only be able to move 1. Again, as you move up the track, you get to move more times based on that. Now, the last one is build a sacred tile. Now, I can't do that right now, but we're just going to...
the magic of our example, we've got a mountain out there.
Okay, well, you know what? There we go. So I'm there at the mountain. And then I'm going to build a tile. Now, here's the thing, though. Luckily, I actually have a level 3 left. You only get 3 level 3, 3's level 2s, 3 level 1s. The 3 has to be placed down first. All right. Oh, it's the Easter Island, guys. All right. So I'm going to place that down here. And then, because it's level 1, I'm going to go down here. So my L shape, I get to ascend 2, which is this track here. All right. I'm going to go up 2. And then I'm going to get a wisdom of 1. So I get to move up one of my tracks 1. I'm going to move this up because that makes it worth more victory points. All right. So that is that action. Now, again, like I said, during a turn, you're only going to get 3 of them. It keeps going around the board. But what is end of game? Now, this is where we come to this ascend track here. Okay. So as people get temples built, right, they'll go up the ascension track. Now, something interesting. So in this particular case, blue is at 6, orange is at 4. Orange may then get, for whatever reason, to ascend. Okay, you can't land on the person. So you immediately get to advance another one. So that means you get 3 instead of 2, just by circumstance. Now, when someone reaches 15, the game ends. So don't let someone run away with it. Otherwise, it'll be disastrous for you. But anyway, so that is kind of the end of game there. You finish the round, and the game ends. And whoever has the most victory points wins the game. And the victory points you get from the board here based on temples in this section here. And then obviously by just going up the track, you get a set number.
And the Ascension board has points.
Victory points as well. Like 15 is worth 15. So overall, I had fun colliding islands.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of fun. I like the fact that it was kind of a puzzle game and the fact that you're trying to get the pieces where you need to get. Honestly, I'm still a little confused about shifting all the tiles in a row a bit. I haven't been able to do it right since you're telling me how to do it most of the time, and I'm like, So I liked the move tile because I understood that. I'm moving a tile. The shifting of the row things really confused me.
Well, the shift didn't seem to be that valuable during the game, other than the fact that sometimes it gave you a way of moving a bridge so you could move your guy across it. Because nothing will collide if you shift, because the entire row shifts. So there's no way to collide anything. Not to mention, most of the game we were limited because there were mountains and we couldn't shift or do the shift action if there was a mountain until you leveled up so high. And I don't think any of us ever got to the point where we could move mountains.
I did. I was up at the 7.
Okay.
I moved all the way up to the top. But the reality is, you're right, it wasn't that useful because you couldn't collide with that. And then that made it very difficult. Now, I did use it a couple times so I could have a bridge, but then you guys end up brewing it anyway. Jerks. So there's that piece of it. But yeah, I didn't really, because not being this outer circle, you're supposed to move them, but you're moving a row, but it's more than a row because it's like all of the, I don't know, whatever. But I still liked it. I still had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Would I play it again? Yeah. I think I'm going to give this a nice, solid 7.5. I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah, that's right where I was thinking too, 7.5. I think it was, I think it had a few little quirks that pushed it down for me a little bit. And like I said, I think even though there's 6 actions, I don't think I ever took shift in the entire game.
I took them like twice.
So, it wasn't really useful to me. So I had to spend more time focused on making sure I didn't get in my own way on my actions.
You were really good at that.
I did. That's how I ended up winning, because I just managed that very well. Your dad had struggled with that. He kept getting his people in his way whenever he was trying to do it, especially when he was bringing them back. He ended up filling most of all of his spaces, and he didn't have a lot of choice on where he could go.
I will say there is a little bit of take that in the fact that, like, I was set up to collide, build my temple, do all this stuff, and Randy here just completely collides it, but collides it in the wrong space, so I did not have access to it, which really made me grumpy, because you just went and took the 3 that I made, so I made 3 mountains, made my temples, and then he comes along, boop, 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 and then he takes the 1 from me. I'm like, come on, I gave you 3. You could at least give me my 1.
Because when you build temples, you can build 3 layers, so you can't build on your own. So it's got to be 3 different players on that layer. And since you only have 3 of each tile, you have to be very careful, because if you use up all your level 1s, your bottom tier, you're not going to be able to build any more first tier. So you have to wait and basically jump in after somebody else has built one to get that second tier level. And there's a lot of strategy around that, because, I spent all my 2 levels, and I got in a situation where I had to wait till you guys got yours done so I could go on top and vulture them. Now, that's with a 3-player game. There's no risk of you getting left out. In a 4-player game, this I think would be more interesting, and I probably will bump it up to an 8 for a 4-player game, because of the fact that I think it's going to be a lot of interesting dynamics of the fact that there's 3 tiers but 4 players. You're going to get left out in the cold in many cases. And I think there's going to be more competition on the board for them.
No, I mean, I think it leads to a possibility, because if you're not careful and you're not integrating when you have that opportunity. So, I mean, I think it was fun. I didn't get to play. I'm just sad because it's not physically possible to do all your tiles. And that makes me sad, because I'm like, I want to build all my shrines. Why won't you let me?
Well, and then the other side of the the advanced or the ascend board, I should say. There's for when you play a 4-player, there's a longer time frame, but then with 4 players, you're also going to burn up going up the track and you'll step on
bumping
people
it,
more.
yeah, bumping into each other.
So yeah, there's a little more time there, but then again, there's probably about the equivalent when you take that into consideration. One other point, I don't know, this is a minor thing, but I thought was really cool. The tiles that you have, the 3, the 2, the 1 space ones, fit together to make a picture. So I thought that was really clever. Not only do they have their own art on them, but they fit and make a panorama.
Yeah, no, I thought it was beautiful. I mean, you're connecting these and they're making literally islands. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I think they did a great job.
Yeah, there was a lot of attention to detail in the art.
Yeah. So, no, I think this designer, and he also did the art, I think he was spot on. I think he did a great job. Check it out. See if you like it. Let's figure out how to fix the player boards.
Yes. That's our really only grievance. This would have been a top tier game for everything if it wasn't for those player boards, because I think everything's done really well. I think it's definitely worth checking out, and if you do, check out the collector's edition.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.